The auto repair industry just got blindsided, and nobody on television is covering it. Tariffs are not just raising new car prices, they are turning routine maintenance into financial emergencies. The US government has stacked 25% auto parts duties, 50% steel and aluminum levies, and China-specific rates hitting an effective 82% on the most common components your car needs to survive. Here is the thing, there are two types of car owners right now, the ones making moves, and the ones who are going to walk into a service bay 6 months from now and get a quote that makes them want to sit down. The difference between those two groups is not income, it is information. What your parts counter will not tell you, the prices you are seeing today are not the ceiling, they are the floor. Smart owners are identifying the 8 parts most exposed to this tariff storm and acting before the next wave hits. Stick around until the end because the final part on this list is the one sitting quietly under your hood right now, and it is about to become the most politically sensitive component in your entire vehicle. Part 1. Catalytic converters. 10 years ago, a Prius catalytic converter was a mid-range annoyance. Today, it has crossed $3,000, and it has nothing to do with engineering and everything to do with trade policy. A Generation 2 Prius converter jumped from around $2,400 to over $3,000 in a single year, with 2 separate manufacturer price hikes in July and October of 2025, tracking almost perfectly with tariff escalation events. These parts get hit at 3 separate points in the tariff chain: the 25% auto parts rate, the 50% steel housing tariff, and restricted supply of platinum and palladium, precious metals where China has begun tightening export controls as geopolitical leverage. The real kicker is that analysts warn China could formalize those precious metals restrictions, a scenario described as plausible in 2026 trade circles, though not yet officially confirmed. The CEO of Premium Guard Inc. warned publicly that the full trickle-down effect had not yet reached consumers as of late 2025, and prices could swell by hundreds of dollars further. For anyone driving a Toyota hybrid, this is not a hypothetical. It is a dated timeline. Bottom line, the catalytic converter is no longer a commodity part. It is priced like a jewel heist, and the tariff code is the getaway driver. Part 2. EV battery packs. 3 years ago, falling battery prices were the EV industry's victory lap. Then came the tariffs. Section 301 duties stacked on top of existing China-specific levies have flipped that narrative entirely. The effective tariff rate on Chinese EV battery cells is now approaching 82%, meaning a $10,000 replacement pack carries over $8,200 in effective duty exposure. China's removal of export VAT refunds scheduled for December 2026 adds another 6% on top, for a cumulative 15 to 23% increase from today's already elevated prices. Battery packs account for 30 to 40% of an EV's total vehicle value. There is no domestic gigafactory network capable of filling the gap. Translation, there is no rerouting this supply chain. One unnamed industry importer told us, once these new duties are fully priced in, the replacement cost on an out-of-warranty EV pack is going to look like a down payment on a new car. Buying an EV without planning for battery replacement under these tariffs is like buying a printer and ignoring that the ink costs more than the machine, except the ink costs $8,000. Part 3. Wiring harnesses. Nobody thinks about wiring harnesses. No brand, no glamour, just the invisible circulatory system buried inside your doors and dashboard. That invisibility is exactly why this is flying under the radar. Roughly 80% of wiring harnesses entering North American vehicles are assembled in Mexico using Chinese raw inputs. As of January 2026, Mexico now applies a 25% tariff on those inputs. And here is the brutal part. USMCA rules prevent Mexico from refunding that tariff when the finished harness exports to the US. The 25% cost is now permanently baked into every harness coming off a Mexican assembly line. A modern vehicle contains up to 1 mile of wiring and between 1,500 and 3,000 individual wires. No simplified substitute, no domestic manufacturing backup. If you need a harness for an ADAS-equipped vehicle, you are getting a vehicle-specific, single-source component that now costs 25% more to produce before it ever ships. But here is where it gets truly desperate. Insurers are already flagging wiring harness. Repairs as total loss triggers, not because the repair is complex, but because the part cost alone pushes the claim over the threshold. If you want someone actually tracking this tariff madness before it wrecks your repair budget, hit subscribe. New investigations drop every week. Part 4. Steel body panels and stamped structural components. Body panels were the commodity side of collision repair. Fenders, doors, hoods, quarter panels, sourced globally, priced competitively, keeping borderline insurance claims viable. That era just ended. Since August 2025, the US expanded steel and aluminum tariffs to over 400 additional categories, explicitly including stamped body panels and structural elements. These parts are now taxed at 50% because of their steel and aluminum content, stacking on top of whatever auto parts duty already applied. Translation: a panel that carried a 25% parts duty now also carries a 50% materials surcharge. The math is not subtle. And get this, collision repair claims dropped 10.4% through August 2025, with analysts attributing the decline directly to insurers totaling cars instead of approving panel repairs. Parts prices rose more than 6% in both Q2 and Q3 of 2025, driven entirely by tariff pass-through. If your car takes moderate body damage in the next 12 months, the odds of a total loss declaration just went up, not because your car is worthless, but because the panels to fix it cost too much. Part 5. Brake components, pads, rotors, and calipers. You cannot delay brakes, and for years, Chinese manufacturing kept brake prices brutally competitive across every tier of the market. That supply dynamic has been structurally dismantled. Brake pads are subject to the 25% auto parts duty. Rotors and calipers catch the 50% steel derivative rate on top of that. Friction. Materials use copper and steel backing plates, now subject to a 50% copper tariff under Section 232. A full brake job already runs $300 to over $1,000 depending on the vehicle, and every tier of that pricing is heading higher. Mexico's 2026 tariff schedule explicitly lists brake discs, pads, and calipers under the 25 to 35% bracket for non-FTA imports. The real kicker: brakes are high-frequency maintenance. This is not a once-a-decade exposure. It is every 30,000 miles on every car forever. One parts manager told us, the customer who waited 6 months on brakes is going to get a very different number than the one who came in before the new duty cycle hit. A set of pads and rotors bought today is a direct hedge against near-certain inflation on a non-deferrable safety item. Are you already seeing parts on backorder or getting quoted prices that seem completely out of line? Drop your city in the comments. We read everything, and it is starting to look like this is everywhere at once. Part 6. Semiconductors and ECUs. The chip shortage of 2021 was a preview. Production halted, lots emptied, used car prices hit records. That was temporary. What is coming now is structural, driven by tariff policy, not a pandemic, and far harder to reverse. The average North American vehicle carries $1,154 in semiconductor content. A proposed 25% semiconductor tariff adds $65 to $200 per vehicle in chip costs alone. But the real exposure is at the ECU level. The average vehicle carries $2,256 in electronic control units. A Section 232 national security investigation completed in December 2025 has already built the legal framework for broader semiconductor tariffs, with China-specific rates potentially triggered if trade negotiations collapse. Here is the thing: only 1/3 of ECUs used in US vehicles are produced domestically. The rest are imported as finished assemblies, meaning tariffs apply at the full unit value. For ADAS-equipped vehicles, there is no aftermarket ECU substitute. One electronics importer told us an ECU that cost $800 last year will be a $1,200 part by the time all new duty schedules land, and there is no workaround for a modern ADAS module. The semiconductor inside your car's brain is being priced like a medical device, irreplaceable and expensive enough to make your insurer question whether fixing the car is worth the check. Part 7. Turbochargers and forced induction components. Turbos used to mark a performance machine. Then automakers put them on everything: crossovers, pickups, family sedans, chasing fuel economy targets with small displacement engines. Mainstream, expected, forgotten about, and now tariff exposed in a way that will shock anyone who gets a replacement quote in the next 18 months. Turbochargers combine high-temperature alloy steel, precision aluminum housings, and electronic actuators, all materials now subject to layered 50% steel and aluminum tariffs, stacking on the 25% auto parts rate. Turbo replacement already runs $1,000 to $2,500 before the current wave. Turbocharger manufacturing is dominated by BorgWarner, Garrett, and IHI. Production concentrated in Asia and Eastern Europe, with minimal domestic redundancy. And get this, the precision alloys inside turbine wheels include rare earth materials China has flagged as potential export control targets. Unconfirmed as of 2026, but described as plausible in trade policy circles. With every mainstream manufacturer running turbocharged platforms as standard, there is no naturally aspirated fallback. One shop owner told us, "I already have customers asking me to hold a spare turbo for their car. They saw what happened to brake prices and they are not waiting. Turbos used to be exotic. Tariffs are making them exotic again, with no performance upgrade to justify the price." Part 8. HVAC compressors and thermal management systems. Your air conditioning compressor never gets attention until it fails. For EV owners, the thermal management system does more than cool the cabin. It protects the battery pack from degradation and shutdown in extreme temperatures. It is essential, it fails without warning, and everything it is made of is under tariff pressure right now. Automotive HVAC compressors are aluminum-intensive components sourced primarily from China, South Korea, and Taiwan, all in the tariff crossfire under 25% auto parts duties and 25% aluminum Section 232 levies. For EVs, battery cooling loops and heat pump assemblies draw on those same Chinese supply chains now under 50%. Steel and aluminum tariff pressure. Mexico's 2026 schedule targets climate control components at 15 to 25% from non-FTA countries. Every angle of this supply chain is getting hit simultaneously. But here is where it gets truly brutal for EV owners. Heat pump assemblies are vehicle-specific, have no aftermarket equivalent, and carry no budget-tier substitute. Insurance data already shows climate control repairs being flagged as economically unviable on older vehicles, not because the repair is complex, but because the part cost alone approaches total loss territory. One veteran parts manager told us, "Once these duties kick in fully, a compressor replacement on a mid-tier sedan is going to be the repair that decides whether that car gets fixed or gets scrapped." Bottom line, this has always been the part nobody thinks about until summer. This year, start thinking about it now. This is not a battle between OEM and aftermarket anymore. It is a battle between car owners who understand parts economics and those who get ambushed at the service counter. Tariffs are not a temporary disruption. They are a structural repricing of the entire vehicle maintenance cost curve, and these 8 parts are on the front line. Here is the single most important thing you can do. Identify which of these 8 parts your vehicle is most likely to need in the next 2 years and make a decision before the next tariff wave hits. Buying a spare set of brake pads costs $50 of inconvenience today. Waiting until the next duty schedule rolls in could cost you double. The smart move is the early move. The costly mistake is waiting for the bill to tell you what you should have known 6 months ago. Hit subscribe if you want the truth about 2026. This channel is not here to protect a dealership's margins. It is here to make sure the only person looking out for your wallet is you.